Don't send me hate, like literally, please don't, because I will cry. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from the title, today's video is going to be a wrap-up video, but because I just for some reason didn't bother doing wrap-ups for these months, I am going to be squeezing in March, April and May into one video. So without going on any more than I have to, here are the books that I read in March, April and May. Okay, so for the month of March, I had like a Colleen Hoover audiobook moment. So I actually listened to 2 audiobooks from Colleen Hoover, and I won't lie, I had to Google them because for some reason, although I remember being super entertained and enjoying it as I was listening to it at the time, I cannot for the life of me explain to you the plot of both books. Like, it's actually ridiculous. So the first audiobook was Regretting You, and that I've literally had to Google. So she basically was like a teen mum, has this daughter, loses her sister and her husband in like, you know, within quick succession of each other during an accident, and it's her finding love again and stuff like that. That actually was like a really sad premise, and I felt really bad for the main character. So the one thing that Colleen Hoover, in my opinion, gives is that, oh, you know, that like heart-wrenching drama of, you know, there's some trauma that the main character always goes through, and they're quite sensitive subjects. So when it's portrayed to you in the book, you feel sad. I know Colleen Hoover has been under the spotlight for a lot of like negative things, but I'm talking about her strictly as an author in the book. So yeah, don't send me hate, like literally, please don't, because I will cry. I wouldn't say it's not a light read, but it's like an easy consumable audiobook. The second audiobook that I listened to was Reminders of Him, and I'm pretty sure it's like a single mum trope, and basically she has a daughter and she's trying to kind of find herself back into her daughter's life, but no one wants her there. And again, it's that typical Colleen Hoover of like, there's trauma and then there's all this drama and there's a romance being like, it's like a dual plot of romance and drama. So yeah, that's that. I rated both of those like a 3 stars because, again, like, I don't really remember the plot off the top of my head, so they obviously weren't that memorable, and I genuinely don't think that Colleen Hoover writes books that I think are like mind-blowing, but I do know that every time I've read her books at the time of reading, I've always found them super entertaining. So yeah, I do recommend it. And then I also read 3 physical books in the month of March. I'm looking down because I literally have my notes on my iPad in front of me. But the first one I read was My Year of Rest and Relaxation by Tasha. This I gave like a 3 stars, 3.5 stars. I know a lot of people who literally rave on about it, but personally I get what it was trying to do. I just wasn't like super into it, I guess. The female main character is supposed to be insufferable and just annoying, and it's definitely that no plot, just vibes. Not that her depression is a vibe. It's giving like when Mona Awad is weird for like just for the sake of shock factor, and yeah, there's not much that happens in it, so I don't really know how much I could tell you. It's still a fan favorite, so definitely don't get disheartened, and I would recommend reading it, but don't expect too much out of this, I think. So coming from like a slightly disappointing book, I went to like unexpected 5-star read because, okay, let me just show you what this unexpected 5-star read was. And it was Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. Do not let this flippin' cute cover fool you, because the smut that is in this book is nice. Like, okay, that made me sound like a pervert, but the spice in this book was giving. I actually did find both characters very cute. I like that there were other subplots throughout it. I enjoyed the like how fleshed out the support characters were. Oh my gosh, Nate Hawkins is literally like so cute, and I love how he's like a golden retriever. I cannot wait for the second book, which is going to follow like one of the other hockey players. Let me just say as well, like the spice in this was, like I said, giving. I highly recommend this. Definitely way worth the hype. Pick it up, you won't regret it. I then moved on to Open Water by Caleb Azuma Nelson because I think I just needed to this was like a cold shower for this. This is a really beautifully written book. I gave this one, I think, like a 3.75, 4 stars. My thing with this is it's a beautiful love story. It is so beautifully written. It almost gives how Ocean Vuong writes, in the sense of it's very poetic. That's what it is. It's a lot of metaphors. It's a lot of very poetic sentences. Now, there were times where I did have to reread what I've just read because I didn't really understand what the sentence was trying to imply, what the sentence was trying to make me feel like. I just didn't understand. Maybe I'm just stupid. There were times where I have to be like, wait, what did they say again? Honestly, I understand the hype with this book and I cannot wait to read his next book. I think it's just released, called Small Worlds. So yeah, I cannot wait to read his next book, and if you definitely find yourself gravitating towards this book, I highly recommend that you do. Those were the books and audiobooks that I listened to in the month of March, and then in the month of April I carried on my Colleen Hoover audiobook era. I listened to Layla. What the hell is that book about? I get that it's very like it's her first take on like a supernatural thriller romance. That book is so weird, and not in like a cool, quirky, weird way. I was just like, what the hell is going on? So yeah, it was really interesting. I gave it like a 3 stars. Again, it's just middle. It's just mid, like literally, like no offense, but the 3 audiobooks I listened to, voice actors amazing. But yeah, it was a bit mid. It's just weird, guys. Like honestly, just go into it blind and just like let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, and then I went on holiday and I read 2 books whilst I was on holiday, and one was a 5-star read and the other one was like a 3-star. So the first book that I read was Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory by Raphael Bob Waxberg. I am a weird book girly. I love weird fiction, and this book is perfect because all the short stories are weird in their own sense. Some of the short stories literally last like a page, and some short stories last for like 20 pages. And every single one felt like a Black Mirror episode, but instead of scary, it genuinely like made you you could definitely see what the emotional story about love was for each plot. So although they were so weird, you know what it's trying to say. And as weird as all of the short stories were, a couple of them genuinely made me feel really emotional, and I absolutely loved it. I found that I was actually trying to read slower so that I wouldn't just finish this book straight away, and I unfortunately didn't get to tab anything because I was on holiday and didn't bring my sticky tabs, but that's just a great excuse for me to reread it because I genuinely think that I will very soon. If you can get your hands on this, please do pick it up. It was a 5-star for me. Okay, so the second book that I read on holiday is The Girls by Emma Cline. I do not have that because I sold it because it was a 2.5 star for me. I was really looking forward to that because there's something about like the cult culture that makes me so interested in it, because I'm just like, what's going on? Like, how is this happening? How did it happen? I don't want to romanticize it because obviously like they did bad shit, like, but this book is very much based on the Manson family. I expected more in terms of, I think it's because I wanted it to talk more about like the life in a cult and how you kind of get dragged into that, but it just really wasn't. I just felt like I was just following the main character around, but the story wasn't really developing. So yeah, maybe I read it in the wrong way, but I didn't really enjoy it, so I gave it like a 2.5 stars. And then the third book that I read in April is another 5-star. Like I have read 4 books in April. 2 of them are 5 stars, absolutely love it, will recommend it till the day I die. And the other 2, I was like, I expected so much from you, but you are a 2-star to me. So anyway, the second 5-star read of the month is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I literally spoke so much crap about this book. I think it's in my anticipated 5-star reads of the year video. I was like, like reading the blurb and I felt sick because it was like so cringe. I just really didn't have high hopes for it. I thought it was like overhyped. It's just another one of those booktok books that like you guys lie about. Don't get me wrong, I am still like icked out by the fact that it's called the Knock 'Em Out series. Like if anyone asks me what series this is, I literally will refuse. I'll be like, it's things we never got over. I would rather tell you each book, even though it's got like a really long freaking name, than tell you that it's the Knock 'Em Out series. Things we never got over was a 5-star because when I tell you that I ate this up, considering this is a romance with 487 pages, I literally read this in like a few days and I was so invested in the story, into the people, into the town of Knock 'Em Out. But let me tell you, like, you find out that they're like 40-year-olds, and no offense to 40-year-olds, I was like, every time it said that they were like 40, I was like, no, they're not. Because I refuse to think that 40-year-olds act and speak the way they do. They're so immature and it's just so bad, it's so good. He definitely had a complex of like, let me solve all your problems for you, lady. So there were so many red flags, but I was just like ignoring all of them, So many things happening in this book, but I ate it up. Don't get it twisted, this was a 5-star for me, but I'm telling you right now, it is cheesy and it is kind of silly, but loved it. And then the last book that I read in April was We Had to Remove This Post by Hannah Berfowitz. I borrowed that from the library because I'm trying to be a good person and using the library because my bank account is screaming for me to use the library. So I went to the library, picked that up because I've seen it everywhere. It's a short book, so I was like, let's pick this up. It's basically following our main character who works as those moderate post moderators for like social media about like, you know, when we're like flag it because it's got like horrible things on it. That's like their job to review it. So I was like, wow, this will be so interesting. Okay, sounds really mean, but I found it really dull, in my opinion. Maybe because I expected it to be one thing and it just wasn't. But I've seen other people say the same thing, and yeah, I gave that a 2-star. I'm sorry. And then in May, The Sun came out and I read 6 books and didn't even like realize. I literally did my May wrap up and I was like, 6 books? Oh, okay. Well, let's just start with the first one again because I went to the library. It's The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. It's my very first Lisa Jewell book, and you know what? I get the hype. I really do get the hype. It was that creepy kind of thriller. Nice, like a psychological thriller, and I love when it's creepy because I like when I'm like, ugh, in the dark reading it and I'm scared. Like that's the kind of feeling I want. Like imagine reading another one of her thrillers in like the autumn winter time. Like that's what I'm planning to do next. Basically it follows a mum who's looking for her teenage daughter who disappeared, leaving like her grandchild, the teenage daughter's kid, with her, and it's just a whole thing of like, where is my daughter? It's like dual timelines, and then it's also dual POVs. So you've got a dual timeline in the sense of then, as in like the night she disappeared, and then now, obviously with the mum trying to find her. And then in terms of like the dual POV, you've got the POV of the mum, and then you've also got the POV of this other character in the present time who is the wife of the new headmaster, I think, of the like private school that the girls used to go to school at, or something like that. Really explain that well. But honestly, it was so good, and I understand why people say like read this one, and I'm genuinely so looking forward to reading more of her books because that was a 4.5 stars for me. So the next book that I read is probably my favorite read, definitely my favorite read of the year so far. Give it infinity stars. Like 5 is not enough. Like I need to give it all the stars in the world, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This book genuinely has such a big spot in my heart because this is my first Emily Henry book, and I didn't want to get it because I have all her other books in paperback, and I was like, I can wait. But then I gave in because everybody was reading it, and let me tell you that I read this in 2 days. It was so relatable. I felt so seen by this book, and honestly, I recommend it to so many people, and every single person has been like 5 star, 5 star, 5 star. So this follows our main character Harriet, who is engaged to Win, or so their friends think. Basically, they have to, it's not a spoiler, but yeah, so Harriet and Win were engaged. They've been together for 8 years. They're part of this like friendship group, and then they go on holiday to Sabrina, one of the characters, family vacation home in Maine, and they're selling the property the next summer, so you know they wanted to have one last hurrah. And it's basically Harry and Wyn having to pretend to their friends that they're still together. But because I'm in my late 20s, and like the aspects of really trying to keep your friendships like this when you're all adults and you have your own lives and people are getting married, having kids, etc, etc, I honestly felt so seen. I felt so seen by this book, and I highly recommend this to anybody and everybody because you will not regret it. I promise you right now, you will not regret it. So pick this book up if you can. Life-changing. So the third book that I read in May was Mona Award's 13 Ways of Looking at a Fat Girl. Again, another weird book, but this one didn't hit like Bunny did. Like Bunny was like, I felt like I was tripping for like days after I read that. I gave it 3 stars, like a 2.75, 3-star rating, and I get what it was trying to do. I just couldn't get into it. So our main character thinks that she is a fat girl ever since she was younger, and it's basically 13 perspectives of her as she gets older, basically. Yeah, I just was not that entertained. I didn't DNF it though. You know what, I'm sorry, I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Okay, and then I started the Shatter Me series by Tahera Murphy. I gave this a 3.5 stars. Basically, I was hoping this was going to be like more just dystopian, but I should have known because everybody's like, I should have known there was a romance. And obviously because it's YA, like, it's gonna be that like means you against the world, baby. And that's what it gives. It gives romance in a dystopian setting rather than a dystopian with a romance subplot. What do I think about Juliet so far in this first book? Quite insufferable. She's quite annoying. I don't really like her, but I'm really intrigued by the male main characters, Aaron Warner and Adam, what's his name? Adam, I think so, Adam Kent. Really intrigued by them. And obviously, like, no spoilers, but I see who people ship her with. And because I'm only on the first book, I'm like, what? Why? So I'm very intrigued as to where the other guy goes, how they get into that. So although I only rated this at 3.5 stars, I'm gonna carry on with the series. I have Unravel Me right now, and I've just bought Ignite Me, but then there's like little novellas in between which apparently helps to read, so I'm gonna have to do that, and there's like a gazillion books in it. Yeah, I'm gonna carry on with the series. The next book that I read was Sarah Adams' The Cheat Sheet. So I was very torn with this one because I enjoy American football, right? And he, the male main character, adorable, love him. Her on the other hand, she's really freaking annoying. Like, what's her name? Brie. She is such a pick-me, such a pick-me. She, like, I cannot like her because, like, not a spoiler, but when he has, like, a girlfriend in the beginning of the book, she, like, not breaks into his house, just, like, she has a key to his house because they're best friends. And then she's basically, like, trying to be like, don't make him choose between me and you because you're just a girl that he's, like, dating. I will stay here forever because I'm his best friend. It's like those TikToks where they're like, POV, I'm your boyfriend's girl best friend. It was giving that. It was given that. And she was all like, I'm just like not like other girls. But he was so nice. I think also when I read Friends to Lovers books, I already know I'm not gonna love it so much because I'm not a Friends to Lovers kind of gal. Like, I find them, dare I say, boring. Like, give me Enemies to Lovers. Give me like brother's best friend, like the forbidden, like a bit of like grit to it. Friends to Lovers just seems a bit like a cop-out in my opinion. But yeah, I gave this one like a 2.5, 3 stars. And specifically just him and the story. Like, she was so annoying. Like, cut her out, cut her out. And then the last book that I read was another Emily Henry book because I was just like, you know what, I'm there, I'm on it. And it is Book Lovers. This is like, it's a perfect way of showing you how I felt about the book. So in the beginning, didn't tab anything, and then at the end I tabbed quite a few bits. And that's because I struggled to kind of get into it to start with, I won't lie. And I was kind of like, what is the hype about? And do you know what? If it wasn't for the fact that I'm a big sister, and there's a lot of big sister issues in this book, and that's what made me actually empathize with our main character. And then I fell in love with everybody else after that. The story really was quite slow to start with, in my opinion, but when it picked up like halfway through, I was hooked, and I was quite teary-eyed at the end, to be fair. And Charlie is quite a nice book boyfriend. He's not overly cheesy, he's not overbearing, he's just nice. Like, and sometimes that's a nice kind of breath of fresh air. They're not really enemies to lovers either, because they both work in like publishing. She's a literary agent and he's a, what's it called? My dog's coming to join. But yeah, so she's an agent, he's an editor, and they basically work against each other, but they're not like workplace rivals, they're not enemies, there's not really anything bad. Like, they're both just like straight shooters, you know, like just city people, just like super serious all the time. I gave this one a 4 stars. It was really cute. So those were all the books that I read in the months of March, April and May. Let me know if you've read any of those and what you thought about them. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed my video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.